This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski.
With licensed psychologist and guest John Delatorre.
Chad Daybell on trial. The weeks keep getting longer. The stories keep getting crazier. And we have John Delatorre with us to discuss this case. Doctor, there's obviously been a lot that's come out here. Initially, I think a lot of us looked at this, and I'm curious to get your take on it, as well. Is Lori the ringleader? After seeing her trial, how that all played out, is Chad this kind of, doofus that was along for the ride? What we've been learning behind his kind of quiet, doofusy demeanor, he was wielding quite a bit of control here, it seems. What's been your take thus far?
Yeah, I never viewed Chad as the true believer. I always viewed him as the con man. He's the guy that comes in and makes you believe in what he's saying. I always viewed Lori as the true believer. I mean, she's the one that fell deep there, where the delusions took over and it truly became her reality. But Chad, I always thought, exerted much more control over what was going on and enjoyed having that control.
Is that what you think we're dealing with here? Is someone who maybe doesn't necessarily believe his own stuff, but realized, just kind of, throwing his rod out there through life and, oh my gosh, this is getting the attention. Everything else in life I've been kind of a doofus and a loser at, digging graves, and I'm just kind of living this weird little kind of life over here. But now I'm getting attention from these women, and people think I have some sort of power. I better play that role.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost exactly how cults start. So it's one of those things where you never really know how a scam is going to land with someone until you actually run it on them. And the more often you run it, the more likely you are to be successful, because you come across as more confident and believable in whatever it is that you're trying to sell. And so I think this is one of those things that he found himself in an environment in which he could use a religious extremist kind of belief system and find individuals to kind of gravitate towards him. And there's Lori gravitating towards him. And I'm sure he's getting all of his needs met by Lori, and Lori is just falling more and more victim. Now, that's not to say that she's not guilty. Clearly, she's guilty of stuff, and Chad is guilty of stuff. But I think Chad is the more nefarious of the two, because Lori, I think, truly became a believer in the nonsense, and Chad was just dispelling the nonsense.
Yeah, I mean,
dispensing the nonsense.
Sure. I mean, it's very dark to see the lengths that he went to. A lot of cults, when they start up, they don't necessarily start killing people right away. Is that where Chad went wrong? Is that where his little cultish plan was completely off the rails, and why it imploded as quickly as it did? Because he discovered he had this power, but he went from 0 to 100 really quick, rather than let's slowly build this cult and say crazy things to people and control them. Instead, it's let's get rid of the kids, and I got Lori to myself. Let's get rid of the wife. I mean, that just kind of seems like a bit fast for starting a cult.
Yeah, I think the two fed into each other, right? That Chad is giving this nonsense to Lori. Lori's taking it, believing it, and escalating it, which requires Chad to escalate it, which then Lori escalates. So then it's both of them moving up and up and up into this delusional, nonsensical content of religiosity and zombies and powers and all that other stuff, to the point where they're willing to make these kinds of decisions that, had they truly been partners in the scam, I don't know that they get to killing children.
Yeah, it almost, I mean, in some weird, I don't have a lot of, I have no sympathy really for Lori Vallow, but in some ways, as the pieces come together here, you go, oh my God, she was just a very susceptible human being, it seems, to this sort of belief, and she totally bought into it, because there's probably a lot of underlying issues there with her. It's scary how someone, can fall into this. Does it take just the right type of person to do this, to become a Lori Vallow, or are more people susceptible of these type of characters, these type of predators, if you will? if you're already kind of interested or indoctrinated into a religion of some sort, like we saw here.
Well, I'm pretty sure your audience is going to completely disagree, but anyone is capable of being scammed. Mm-hmm. Anyone and everyone is capable of being scammed. You just have to find the right scam that's going to bring you in. A good confidence person is going to make it so that you are invested in whatever the scam is. So then you're not seeing it as the problem that it actually is. And for the most part, most people, like, you can tell, like, no, this person is a snake oil salesman. I'm not going to listen to them. But if you get the right person at the right time saying the right thing to you, anyone and everyone is capable of falling victim. And some people, like Lori, with this kind of content, just fell deeper and deeper into this downward spiral to the point that there was much more darkness there. Yeah. And willingness to engage in problematic behavior, to include killing her own children. Yeah. Than I think anybody really anticipated.
And on the surface, she looks like a normal person. And then you start learning about her beliefs and it gets pretty nutty. And to the extent at which someone will go is, I think, one of the most disturbing parts. But grooming has a lot to do with that.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.